Syndicated presents Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian.
You know, we have to come to grips with this. He's Shep, I'm Sean. Hi. Shep, we have to come to grips with this. I just put the little teaser, hey, join us, watch our show, all that stuff. Yeah. I just wrote Lions dominance. It's real. And we legitimately, stop making fun of it. Stop going, just accept it. Right now, Shep, the Detroit Lions are not just the best team in the NFC. I think they're by far and away the best team in the NFC. And I'm not hesitating when I say that. And I'm not looking around waiting for the other shoe to drop. I mean, really, that's where we're at with this football team right now. It is an amazing place, a place that none of us have ever seen in our lifetime.
I don't know if I've seen a team in any sport, perhaps, that you and I have covered, that is so together and so well connected and so unselfish than this team. And I think that speaks a lot to the leadership on the field, in the locker room, and in the front office. I think they're so much fun to watch and to see grow at the same time while winning. You know what I mean? This is easy for me to say because, I'm in a T-shirt and sweatpants. But if you told me they were going to play any team in the NFC, and perhaps any team in the NFL outside of, I respect Kansas City and Buffalo, I would say, bring it on. I think Detroit is that good, and I think they're that balanced. And what's amazing to me, Sean, is how they've been able to do it without Hutchinson, without Davenport, without Barnes, losing Branch during the game, without Josh Paschal, who was injured, without Jamison Williams. Oh boy, what are you going to do? I think their sole focus and purpose every single Sunday is amazing to watch.
Yep.
I will tell you this. I let my fandom get the best of me yesterday. I'm watching the game with a bunch of friends. I don't know about you. I mean, I know you have all these barbecues and stuff with buddies in your neighborhood, but when's a Lions party? Are you kidding me? I've seen Michigan State gatherings and stuff. But friends of mine had a Lions party, went over there, watched a little bit of the game, and I let my fandom get in the way. And I try not to do this too much, but damn, I'm looking at this and I'm watching. When the Lions win the Super Bowl, this is how I said it to folks. When the Lions win the Super Bowl, and I'm convinced they're going to, is this the best Detroit team we've ever seen? Is it better than the Pistons of 88 and 89 and 2004? Is it better than the Tigers of 84 for you and I? I mean, we didn't see 68. Is it better than the great Wings teams of 97 and 2002, with 10 Hall of Famers? I don't know the answer to that. And like I said, I'm getting myself way ahead. But it was just something that popped into my head, and I blurted it out, and I wish I had taken it back right away. They give me that much confidence.
You know what's interesting about this? Tom says, good evening, guys. My buddy Tim from up north, shout out to Hancock. As a Packer fan, I don't think the pick six really mattered. I want to ask the Packer fans this, and please, I hope that you guys don't think that I'm being an a-hole when I do this. I'm serious, okay?
Okay.
Was there any point in time for Tim and perhaps any other Packer fan out there where you were watching that game yesterday where you said, we got this? Because I honestly, for me, Shep, even after their first drive, which was an impressive drive, I give them credit. And they did what teams aren't supposed to do against the Lions. They were carving chunk yardage on the ground. And then when the drive stalled and they had to settle for the field goal, I kid you not, I kind of sat back and go, well, that was cute. That was that. What I'm trying to say, that's my long-winded way of saying, at no point in time as a Lion fan was I watching that game yesterday going, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. And I don't know if you felt the same way. And Tim, again, I'm not trying to be an a-hole because Lord knows you guys of Packer fans have been there so many times against the Lions. But it was quite the role reversal yesterday where I was like, the Lions are a better team. I know this is Lambeau weather, but you, again, have a quarterback who at any given time, I was waiting for his groin to just pop out. Shep, they were just in control yesterday. That was their game. They dictated the terms.
Yeah. So sometimes you're watching an event. I'm not saying it's every single weekend. Sometimes you're watching two teams playing. You're like, that team's just better, And that's as simply as I can put it. I agree with Nick. You could tell Detroit was in control. They did what they knew that they could do going in. It seems like every weekend it's a great game plan, number one. But number two, the little things, the 4th and 1 Gibbs touchdown, the little things where, you look at Jared Goff and he sees that they've got man. He sees they're going to bring pressure. And what does he do? He motions St. Brown just real quick, just to get one guy out of there. And instead of going to the strength where everybody was, Gibbs goes off the tight end, seals the block, barely untouched. It's the little things like that they do so well. They are so disciplined is probably overused in sports, but they have great discipline, only 5 penalties. And that's not always, I don't always base teams' discipline on their penalties. I mean, just their ability to do the little things that matter most in the ultimate team sport, to me, is amazing. I love what this team stands for. Just love it.
I'm glad that Tim, the Packer fan, didn't misconstrue me as suddenly cocky Lion fan. And it sounds like he felt the same way. He said, I joked on Facebook that the Packers only needed 6 more field goals after the Packers kicked their second, deflating to miss one and settle for them. And listen, I'm not dismissing the Packers. I think the Packers are a good team. I think they'll probably be a playoff team. But Shep, for the first time in my life, and I'm not telling you what I think, I'm telling you what I know. The Detroit Lions are the best team in the NFC.
I think they're the best team in the NFL.
You could make that argument. No, absolutely, you could make that argument. No doubt.
I truly believe that. And we were talking with Todd before we came on. Their defense is a lot better, especially against the run, than last year. But even their corners, like I love watching Carlton Davis play. I love that Terrion Arnold is growing into a really good player. Their safeties of Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. I'm sure other teams can brag about their safety combination, but I don't know many who could say they're better. They could say they're as good, but who's going to say they're better? I just love everything about this team. And look at the way Jack Campbell has grown, 13 tackles the other day. And suddenly, I think Pro Football Focus now has him as their best 9th linebacker. And then, of course, this all is surrounded by what Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson have done, but also Brad Holmes. I mean, how much criticism did he get for taking Gibbs, for taking Campbell? You don't draft an off-ball linebacker at 18 or wherever he was chosen. You're trading Hawkinson, but you're replacing him with Laporta. I mean, do we know what we're doing? He does know what he's doing.
Yep.
He is. You called him a wizard. Go ahead. Call him a warlock. Whatever you want to. He just knows what he's doing. And that's why I'm super confident by tomorrow that I think something's going to happen too. So I just, I know we're gushing about him, Sean, but you and I have seen the doldrums. I mean, we've covered it. I mean, I've done press conferences and I've done interviews and I've done packages and I've done pre-games and I've done post-games on TV and on the radio at home and on the road. This is so refreshing and so much fun, but it's not just because, as you said, they're good. It's because you truly know that this is a team that other teams look at and go, damn, I want to be part of that. Damn, we should build our team like that, right?
You got it. Shep, and you know what? In the past, whether it be Camp Happy Times, whether it be the Schwartz era, whatever the case may be, you constantly were told you weren't seeing what you were seeing. Like constantly, like to the point where maybe there's something mental with me that I'm not seeing what everybody's talking about and everything. Right now, you know what? To me, it isn't even gushing. We're telling the truth. We're reporting. This team sits back and says, how do you want us to beat you? And as you said, you can take out this piece, you can take out that piece, you can take out their most dominant player, and Aiden Hutchinson is, make no mistake about that.
Yeah.
And you can still see them do the kind of stuff that they've been doing. It is absolutely remarkable to me. And I know a lot of you guys,
A lot of talent, John. A lot of talent.
oh, absolutely.
I always use this example, and I really kind of came up with this while I was calling college basketball. And I thought, when I look across the court, across the field in baseball, across the field in football, maybe in the bench next to me, how many of those guys do I want instead of my guys?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I remember getting ready for the national championship game in 2013. Michigan's playing Louisville, and I'm thinking, Michigan's better than they are. They're going to win this game, and I truly believe they were the better team. Villanova, I don't see it. Right?
Yeah.
I just thought Villanova was too good. I watched the Lions play just about anybody on their schedule. Find me the position, and I'll wait as long as you need to. Find me the position where you want their guy instead of your guy.
That's remarkable.
And it's not many,
No,
if at all. No, I'm serious. It's not many.
I know. I love the fact. I mean, forget about them putting together the offensive line. You talked about the defensive backfield, okay? Not so much the safeties, okay? He basically took the paper that was the 2023 roster and crumbled it up and said, I'm starting over. These guys stunk. And look what these guys are doing right now. It's remarkable. It really is. Lots of comments. Jack Fox too. Man, he is such an asset at flipping.
That's a great point.
Not enough is said about that, Nick.
Great point.
Tom, Lions are playing for the name on the front and not the one on the back. That starts with the coach and going for it on fourth downs like he does, and the coach telling him, I believe in you guys, and you guys are going to execute, so let's go execute. And that stuff's contagious. Packers are something like 1-5 in their last 6 division games at Lambeau. No one is scared of Lambeau, and it's been that way for a few years.
Goff has won 3 straight there. The only Lions quarterback in history to do it.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
That is amazing.
Let's see. Skydog said it was at that point yesterday I could relax and enjoy the game yesterday. Yeah. It reminded me an awful lot about the Cardinal game from last month.
Sure.
Where I just kind of sat there and I was like, okay, cool. They're just not worried. Not worried, okay. Even when they scored that touchdown, okay. And here comes the onside kick that they have to tell people we're doing. Yeah, I know. Diggs, by the way, what's up? Cornstalker, if Brad does get us a Super Bowl, what is the opposite of the Millen Man March? What could we do for him?
I don't know, but my friend will be leading it. That's for sure.
So wait, is the Patriot way out? Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Oh,
please.
Gosh.
Thank you.
Don't do it.
Somebody had said earlier, they said, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that the Lions, are a Super Bowl contender. Nick says, it hasn't hit me yet that Detroit is a legitimate Super Bowl contender. I'm getting greedy, upset that they lost to Tampa. As you and I were saying, you're not running the table. So somebody's going to pinch them at some point this year.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it doesn't make it. I don't waver. I just think they're that good. The other team might be better on that day. Let's put it this way, and I know you can't because in baseball you're playing series. Detroit plays any team in the NFL, they win the series. Now it's only one game, but Detroit's going to have home field. I firmly believe that, and not that matters a ton because their lone loss this year is to Tampa. They might lose to Houston because Houston's really good, right? But they're going to be favored against everybody else.
Yep.
Everywhere else they play, they're going to be favored.
The rest of the way. They really are. It's crazy. Joe, this is what, Joe, maybe you were eavesdropping on Shep and my conversation before we started. I was in an arena watching a hockey when Gibbs scored. I squealed like a girl. I was fully expecting a loss at Green Bay because you can't go 6-0 in the division. Do you know what the game that I brought up to him was the Bears in December? Like the Bears just kind of put it together and, Matt Eberflus may have saved his job. Or it happens. And you don't blow a gasket over it. Remember last year it happened. And so many people jumped off the bandwagon then. And that's when the Packers got hot, if you remember. And you're like, oh my gosh, they're going to do it to us again, this time with Jordan Love. And you know what?
Yeah.
They stayed the course and we know how it ended, Shep.
Yeah, here might be the slight difference for Chicago this year, just because Eberflus is in a little bit of trouble. I don't know if you saw the video of DJ Moore, who literally ran off the field when he thought the play was over. Now, maybe he was hurt. Maybe he went out of bounds. You just don't do that, number one. And number two, we all know what happened. Remember the defensive back who was waving goodbye to Washington 2 weeks ago and
Breaks
got
my heart.
burned for the Hail Mary. And he reportedly walked out of practice on Friday because he was told that he wasn't going to start. Well, those are two incidents that you don't see happening in Detroit.
Yeah.
Okay. This is not Titus Young in a situation like that, right? So to me, not that he's lost control of his team. I'm not going to overreact. I just, with teams like that seem to almost give in or give up on one another, I don't worry about that. I remember when the Tigers were playing the White Sox at the end of the season a few years ago, and the White Sox already had the division wrapped up. They had a ton of talent. But Tony La Russa was telling his guys, oh, you don't have to run through first base. You don't have to throw hard. You don't have to be, go all out all the time. We'll get ready for the playoffs. And I remember talking to certain players and coaches, and I'm thinking, you can't do that ever in any game, right? You can't let up at all. You've got to set some type of precedent because it can be too contagious. And I think that's what's happened recently in Chicago over the last couple of weeks. I could be wrong, but I don't see them being that much of a thorn in Detroit's side moving forward.
White Sox, they're going to run this division for like the next 10 years, right? Isn't that how it's going to work out?
That's what everybody said. I thought they were going to be a serious challenger.
I mean, did too.
Let's put it this way. If they had the Tigers manager in their dugout, they're not playing like this. They're a lot better team than they are right now. I can promise you that. And
maybe a lot of those young players and established guys don't want the hell out of there too. It's amazing
or maybe it's somebody else who wants them out of there instead of them.
Yeah. Hey, let me tell you about our friends at the Wealth Advantage Group. We'll get to more of your comments. If you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group, located in historic downtown Northville, owned by those two guys. I want to chat with both of them soon. Big college football guys, and they also understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are, and that's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, or already in retirement, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life, and they have clients in over 30 different states. Look, the investment world is a complex one, and if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it's time to work with the experts. Reach out to my friends at the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574, or check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. The number one seed in the NFC is setting up nicely for them as the teams we need to lose keep losing. Control your own destiny, baby. Just keep going out there and winning. I would be drop dead. My jaw would drop, Shep, if they weren't the number one seed at this point in time. I'm sorry.
Agreed.
Brad Holmes has been solid in the draft, except that third round. Martin hasn't contributed. Hendon Hooker is just there. Brad Holmes has been phenomenal.
I don't know what anybody how you could expect any more. You're not gonna hit on every single pick. You're just not. I mean, people in San Francisco, Eddie DeBartolo never did. The greatest general managers in this sport or any sport have never been perfect. Okay. You misfire on guys. That's the way it goes. It's how you handle that misfire. How quickly are you willing to say, okay, it didn't work out, move on and replace? So I think that's the difference between Brad Holmes and many others.
I see you just hit something in me, and I'm sorry. I'm going to go in the way back machine, and you probably were closer to this situation than I was. What I loved about Joe Dumars the early days is Joe Dumars had no problem saying, okay, I thought of something and it didn't work and I'm going to move on. I felt as time went on, Shep, he kind of dug his heels in. See Stuckey, Rodney. And I think anybody kind of, okay, this isn't the guy. This isn't your guy. And it was almost like Joe was like, no, I'm still the smartest guy in the room, and we're going to keep riding with that guy, amongst a myriad of things, obviously. And you and I talked about the debacle signings of 2009, but it was almost like some of the press clippings that were there. I felt like Joe started to read a few of those press clippings. Just one.
I wouldn't disagree with you there. I guess I always ask people this: when do you know? When is it that you think you know when to give up on somebody? Because there's plenty of guys who achieve greatness later on in life. I mean, there are plenty of guys who were drafted late and somehow, some way. I use this example quite a bit. I remember Whit Merrifield won a national championship for South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
He was a late draft pick. Took him a while to get to the major leagues. Should they have given up on him? And he had a double-A manager who misspelled his name in the lineup as a reserve. And Merrifield took a picture of it and used it as his motivation. So here's a guy that I'm sure a lot of people would have said, forget it, we're giving up on him. Why would you give up on him, right? I mean, he turned out to be a hell of a player, multi-all-star, and he's had a nice long career. I don't know when you decide to say, I've had enough of that guy, he's done, let him be somebody else's problem,
I think it's probably a player by player situation. I can Shep, John Joseph Harrington. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The great JJH. I think we all knew, but didn't want to admit it, just in my opinion. And I remember talking to Killer out in Allen Park. I want to say it was at the end of Joey's second year. And there were a couple guys that came up to us and said some things. And the thing that they both said completely unprompted was he doesn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a great word because you know what? How do you define it? I can't.
Right.
I can't. Right. But you know what I can tell you? I can tell you when a guy doesn't have it. And that guy didn't have it. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean. I never had anything personal against the guy or anything like Joey Blue Skies, all that. I had nothing personal. He seemed all right to me. I don't know. But he just didn't have it, right? Yeah. And that's the best way to say it, I think.
No, I agree with you. For me, it takes me a while to truly understand what coaches and managers use as the word it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they see certain things that I don't, because they're around them more than I am. They're looking at things that, one of the things that amazes me most when I talk to managers or coaches and scouts, NFL scouts and so on, what are you looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember talking to Drew Stanton one time, and he had a long career as a backup, but I said to him, what impresses you most about Stafford? And Stan goes, his hips. His hips. He's like, yeah, his hips, his ability to throw the football, lower half, hips. I'm thinking arm strength, arm angles, all that stuff, right? Talking about a guy's hips. So they're all looking at different things with different players. And I think sometimes when we're watching, especially if we're just watching on TV, unless we're there and we get to talk to people and so on and so forth, we're just kind of deciding on our own, and we don't always know. So I always try to figure out what is the it factor you think he might possess. Now, there are certain guys I think it's pretty obvious. You bring up Joey Harrington. Christian Stewart's a really good example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I remember saying to members of the Tigers, there's no way somebody went to the University of Tennessee in the SEC, arguably the best college baseball conference in America, watched that guy regularly and thought, I think that guy's an everyday left fielder in Major League Baseball. There's no way. There's just no way. Not with that arm. Not with that arm, right? Yeah. So I think there are certain traits, certain characteristics. When it clicks, I don't know.
Skydog said that reminds me, who do you think the Packers coach was yelling at after Gibbs' touchdown? I think it was his defense for leaving such a huge hole for Gibbs to run through. Then he added to it. Let me make sure I get all of this. The reason I ask is because as ridiculous as the reason for kicking Branch out of the game was, I heard something even more ridiculous. Some are claiming the Packers accused Campbell of trying to run the score up at the time of the Gibbs touchdown. I got no
you
time
running
for that in the
score?
National Football League. I got no time for that in the National Football League. I don't.
Amen.
None. Zero.
Right.
Zero.
Stop him.
Mike said Sam Darnold. Yeah. Did you watch that game last night? Holy crap.
Yeah, but Sam Darnold's a really good example. I'm not saying he's a Pro Bowler, but he's been pretty good most of the year, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
How many people would have said, forget that guy? No way.
It was amazing to watch Joe Flacco die on national television last night, though. That was it. That was his last breath. That was
Yeah.
Joe,
Yeah.
congratulations. You probably did more with less than a lot of guys can say. You got yourself a ring, Super Bowl MVP. Here lies Joe Flacco. November 3rd, 2024.
R.I.P. R.I.P.
That's it. Tim, the Packer fan, last comment just to finish the answer. I never feel confident in a Packer win until the clock hits 0.
Oh, that's so not true.
You were talking about scouts. I don't know if I ever told you this. I did this thing when I was working in juniors that I want to share with you along the same lines. First, let me tell you about Legacy. Did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy to get help with their home and auto insurance? That's right. Legacy Partners. They are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents. They provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. They've helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you. And yep, it's all about saving you some money right about now. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're paying too much and you could be underinsured. So what are you waiting for? Give Legacy Partners a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. Call them today at 586-209-4106 or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quote. Shep, I know I'm talking to somebody for people out there that aren't aware. You've been around your fair share of hockey rinks, whether it be in the National Hockey League, college hockey, whatever the case may be. I always say people don't understand the people that you run into in rinks. It's incredible. I always say one year I was working for the Whalers, and it was the year before Herb Brooks passed away. Herb Brooks was walking on the concourse at the time, CompuWare Hockey Arena. There wasn't one human being who knew who Herb Brooks was. Not one. There's Herb Brooks walking by people, and I'm going, Herb and Brooks, like that. And I got to be honest with you, I just shook his hand. I was like, Mr. Brooks, I just want to say, and he kind of gave me a look like, kid, I'm working, leave me alone. Okay, have a good one, bro. We'll see you. But so whether it be scouts, whether it be former players, whether it be current general managers, I did this thing. This is, gosh, I want to say 2008 or 2009. I asked, I think it was 30 some odd scouts, what makes Nick Lidstrom Nick Lidstrom?
Good.
And
Really
it was amazing. I am not lying to you. Every single one of them didn't talk about his physical abilities. They didn't. Everything was cerebral, his mind, the way he sees the game, the way he reads the play. Every single one of them. I was waiting for one person. It got to the point where maybe after 15, 16, I'm like, well, somebody's going to say something. Every single one talked about his brain and his vision and his mind. And I'm with you. How do you quantify that? I'm fascinated by that stuff.
I am
fascinated by it.
I really am too, because they're not always right.
Right.
With
Right.
Joey Harrington. I remember getting ready to call a Big Ten hockey game, and I was in Ann Arbor. I think Michigan was playing Ferris State. You remember Pat Nagel? He was a goaltender.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And he was a hell of a player. And I remember talking to I think it was a Dallas Star scout, because as you know, when they have the lineups revealed, the lines, it always has the logo of the National Hockey League team that's drafted.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember talking to the scout, and I said, what do you think of Nagel? And they say, oh, he's a really good college goalie. And I said, yeah, but couldn't he play at the next level? Could never bring him back to my general manager. Why is that? Not big enough. I'm thinking, really? Or you remember Jeff Lurg, who played at MSU? He was phenomenal, right? Mm-hmm. But couldn't play in the National Hockey League.
Sure.
Certain size matters, right? So there are certain things that they look at when we think, oh my God, look at how good that dude is. He's really, really good. Next level, not so much. I mean, think about all the guys in the NBA who played in smaller schools. and reach that level, or in the NFL, right? I mean, how many of us really ever watched Michael Strahan play at a small school, Walter Payton play at a small school, Jerry Rice play at a small school, or even the big school guys? I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown played at USC, for crying out loud, right? Why did he last so long in the draft? Certain intangibles, they see it. Oftentimes we don't. It's always fascinated me
No,
too.
totally fascinating. Totally and I don't care what anybody says. There's sometimes you see a guy and you don't understand. I'm not trying to dog on the poor guy. Nail Yakupov was the number 1 pick in the draft. And I was openly asking people, what am I missing? Is there something like every single time I've seen him? And I'd always say, I only saw him 6 or 7 times. And I had one person, I don't want to say his name, but you know who he is. And as a matter of fact, you've worked with him on now FanDuel a few times, who literally pulled me aside and he said, "You're not missing anything. There's nothing there." And so when it turned into what it turned into, you almost ask yourself, well, how does that happen in a gazillion dollar business? How does that happen? And it's almost like the recruiting game, Shep, where I don't want to diss certain guys, but there are certain guys that you see have 5 stars on them, and you're like, I watched that dude play. He isn't good. For not like Shep, I'm not saying he's not that bad. I'm saying he isn't good. It's fascinating how some of that stuff happens.
Yeah, for me, it's different in high school going to college than it is college to the pros.
Sure.
Because I do believe certain coaches can make players a lot better, and you can be a really good college player without being a pro prospect.
Right.
You know, Michigan had Jordan Morgan. He played at UAD. I remember friends came up to me and said, "How in the hell did Michigan recruit and give him a scholarship?" I said, "Why? What do you mean?" He's like, "He's not good. He's soft. All this other stuff." Right. Well, by the time he was done, Michigan molded him into the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, and they won some Big Ten titles with him. It's different at the next level. Right?
Yeah.
It's different at the professional level.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, I don't care what anybody says. 17 and 18-year-old kids are still 17 and 18-year-old kids, man. It's just, I don't know what to tell you.
There are exceptions, right? The exceptions are,
Sure.
you know, LeBron James was 18 and he was a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are certain exceptions for sure, but I agree with you. I mean, most of them, you got to give them a little bit of time.
Yeah. Hey, when it comes time to buying a house, whether you are buying, selling, or both, you need to contact the right agent. Who do we recommend? Alakazam, Alakazoo. There's Lindsay Broadwell for you. Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the mean streets of Northville and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business, and when it's time to move, Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house, and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, first-time buyer, doesn't matter. Make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. That's Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com, and she will help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. Shep,
at one point, let me ask you this.
All right.
At what point do you see the Tigers moving forward with a different plan than perhaps most people originally thought, signing big, you know, some type of big name? I don't envision that at all. Like Garrett Cole, I don't know if people know that he got the contract extension. He's going to stay with the Yankees, $144 million. The reason I bring that up is because he's a Scott Boras guy, and Tarek Schools is a Scott Boras guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you read over the weekend, filtered through some various articles. One had Detroit trading for Vladimir Guerrero and signing Alex Bregman, and I'm thinking to myself, Vladimir Guerrero, it'll be great, right? But he makes $20 million and he's up for arbitration, so he's going to make more than X. He had over 300, had over 30 bombs, over 100 RBIs. He's going to make more than $20 million. Alex Bregman is 30 years old. He's getting that last kick at the can. He's going to ask for at least 26, at least, right? And if you're Tarek Skubal's agent and he's up for salary arbitration, so you don't have to do this, but you're going to want to lock him up, you would guess, right?
Yeah.
What would you ask for? 30 mil, you know, somewhere in that neighborhood, right? I mean, Patrick Corbin's got 28 million or whatever it was. So do you really think this team would be able to dole that out with 3 players with those type of contracts?
This reminds me, Shep, where's your old broadcast partner, Terry Mills? Terry Mills and Lindsey Hunter for Vladimir Guerrero. And then we could turn around and we could go Matthew Dandino and Chris Draper for Bregman, right? I mean, it's this based on what? Like,
when have they ever spent that much money?
That's exactly it.
I mean, I get the Cabrera, the $32 million, but I mean, that's a different ball of wax, don't you think?
It was a different owner. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, it was a completely different owner, and this owner's been burned by the Javier Baez. Mm-hmm. So my guess is that's not happening. I hope I'm wrong. I do. I hope I'm really wrong. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because there are so many different things people are putting out there expecting the Tigers to make some type of massive splash, and I just don't see that coming. If it would be, it'd be for one player. It sure as hell isn't going to be that type of move. Do you?
No, and I keep saying this, and I can't say that I'm wrong, and you can't say that I'm wrong yet. And I'll be the first guy to. I don't believe that Christopher Ilitch is just going to start signing people. I just don't. There's nothing to base that on. Mr. Ilitch did late in his life. Dave, go get Prince Fielder. Mr. I, we don't need Prince Fielder. Dave, go get Prince Fielder. Go get, go get Victor Martinez. Go get this. Go get that. I want this, and we did that. There's nothing out there that makes me think that Christopher Ilitch is going to be that guy. And this isn't even a shot against Christopher. I know, hey, we're ready. The rebuild's over, all that stuff. Okay. Well, if it legitimately is over, now that you're a playoff team, you're up. It's your turn. Now it's on you, and I don't have any reason to believe he's going to do that, Matt. And based on what? It would be my comment, right?
Exactly.
No, he does it. I'll be the first guy that say, hey, props to him. He did it.
Right. What has given you any indication that he's willing to do that type of reconstruction of his payroll and so on and so forth? I just haven't seen it. Right.
Nope, not at all. So let me tell you about All About Catering before we get out of here on a Monday. All About Catering LLC is a full-service caterer. Graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events, anything you need catering for from 25 to 4,000 people. All About Catering can and will take care of you. Customer service and satisfaction is their number one goal, after all. So do not sweat your next big event. Just go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to see their menus and all their 5-star reviews. Give them a call, 586-731-1398 to get your event started. Shep,
Chris said, or Nick said, Chris, I will be okay with the current payroll.
Chris will be okay. Chris Ilitch.
Chris. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, that payroll, by the way, at least at the season's end, was around $98 million, right? If I say this to people all the time, if you don't, I know people want to feel excited about after perhaps surprising and impressive run. I get that, but you always say this: it's not always linear.
No,
just because you were here doesn't mean the next year. But if you don't think teams like the Yankees are going to try to figure out something to get over the top. Toronto was embarrassed. Boston was embarrassed. Baltimore felt like they fell short. Cleveland feels like, they fell a little short. Kansas City's got that bug. Texas, damn well, they're not going to just sit idly by after getting embarrassed after winning the World Championship and then not making the playoffs. And then all these teams in the National League. You got to fight for this stuff, man. Fight for it, because it just doesn't happen automatic that just because you made the playoffs last year, it's going to happen again next year. Hello, Minnesota.
Yeah, it just sorry, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way.
No,
I don't know what to tell you.
Emotionally, you might think that, Sean. Emotionally, but not physically. That's not the way it works.
Eric, we said it at the beginning of the show. I fear no one. Bring on whoever. Go Lions. 100%.
Amen.
And I'm not being a cocky Lion fan. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. I've seen it. Nick said, quick wings question. Patrick Kane on pace for 16 goals. Thoughts? I think that Patrick Kane is still not part of the problem here. It would be the best way that I would put it. I think if he ends up with, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's on pace for around 60 points. Yes, you'd want more from the goal department. I get it. I don't think that Shep Patrick Kane is part of the current problem with the
Do you think these pieces fit, Sean?
No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Because I don't either.
I can, and I know I said this to you a couple weeks ago, and I have no, like, I understand why people are going to want to take some shots at Steve Yzerman. I don't think this is where it should be right now. I know he's going to get the time to do it. And I know he's shown he can build a winner because he had all that time in Tampa, but I don't think it's where it should be. I don't think Coach Lalonde, God bless him, really nice guy. I'm sure you will vouch for that. I don't think that the message is getting through right now.
But he's the construction.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy who's constructed this.
Yep.
Right. I mean, he's the one who hired Lalonde. He's the one who extended Blashill. He's the one who's brought in all these players. And I'm not saying he's solely at fault because the players got to take some blame too. But that's why I asked you if these pieces fit. You answered that pretty quickly.
No,
if they don't fit. If they don't fit, you better figure out this jigsaw puzzle pretty damn quick.
It's on him. There's no doubt about it. Hey, like I said, I've been consistent since the day he was hired. The clock starts in the 24-25 season. And this team isn't close to, forget about the playoffs. I'm going to hold him to his words. If I'm going to be kind to him and say, let's give him that 5-year, well, then I'm going to hold him to his words. The goal was not to just get in the playoff. The goal was to get this team back to that point. They're not close. They're missing so many different pieces. It's insane right now, you know?
Agreed.
All right.
All right, brother. Listen,
Shep,
have a great week, man. We'll see you Thursday.
Let's chat Thursday.
Yeah, you bet, buddy.
All right.
Todd, thank you.
For Shep, for Todd, thank you. All you guys, thanks so much for checking us out. We'll talk to you guys soon. Later.
Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Still Alive by Anti-Ghost. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.
Don't say